I will not make any deals with you. I've resigned. I will not be pushed, filed, stamped, indexed, briefed, debriefed, or numbered. My life is my own.
Verse 13, he will take your daughters to be confectionaries, and to be cooks, and to be bakers. And he will take your fields, your vineyards, and your olive yards, even the best of them, and give them to his servants. So wow, look at this, just forced majeure, or whatever you want to call this, eminent domain kind of stuff going on here. And then think of like BLM right now, and how they have so much control over so much land all over the U.S. right now. So that's very similar there. Okay, verse 15, here's where the taxation, the specific taxation kicks in. He will take 1/10 of your seed and of your vineyards and give them to his officers and to his servants. And he will take your men servants and your maid servants and your goodliest young men and your asses and put them to his work. He will take the 1/10 of your sheep, and you shall be his servants. So right here in those 3 verses, 20% taxes. First there was 10%, and then another 10% when he took the sheep, etc. So 20% taxes. Already he's taken out of the people's hands. And so it's very interesting. So modern day, think about this. Think about the abuse of this power back then, but think about the abuse of power now with the billions, the millions of people under the control of federal governments that force them to pay taxes. And most of these taxes, just so you know, and you'll find out from Jesus's preaching, don't come from this upper class. They don't come from actually the leaders, but the taxations, the burden of the taxation comes from the ordinary people, the middle class, the hardworking people. These are the people, because there's so many of them, and when you start adding up all their wages and taking all that extra 20-30% off the top, well, now it's like 40% here in the U.S., and I know in some European countries there's worse tax than that. I think it's up to 60% in some places. So these taxes are powerful. It's billions of dollars these people can take to do whatever they want with. And as you can see from these scriptures we read, they're not nice people. They don't do righteous things with them. They abuse their power. And then in fact, and in verse 18, we're going to hear that the people realize they made a big mistake and they're crying out to God, but God's not really going to hear them now because he gave them a lot of opportunities early on not to make this choice. But here's what the people say in verse 18 after they realize their mistake. And ye shall cry out that day because of your king, which you shall have chosen you, and that the Lord will not hear you in that day. Nevertheless, the people refused to obey the voice of Samuel, and they said, Nay, but will we have a king over us? But even though they realized their mistake, they didn't really want to go back and turn back to God. They said, well, we'll just have to deal with it. And man, civilization has been dealing with ever since, haven't they? And they've regretted that. But then they've drifted so far from God, they don't even know how to get back to home plate, so to speak. So yeah, this is amazing. And one interesting analogy I want to bring up that's happened in recent times, and that is when we pulled out of the occupation and that we had to leave all that military equipment behind. Think of it, $80 billion worth of military equipment that not only is worth $80 billion of taxpayers' money, but also it gets to be put in our enemies' hands that don't like us and to be used against us someday. Wow. Talking about an abuse of power. Think of that. All you people that are listening to me in middle classes and average people, think of all the money that was skimmed off of your paychecks and everything else to pay all those huge government contractors that are on kind of what we call the government. There's all that billions and trillions of dollars of our dollars in that great pool that they can pull from. And all those, first of all, the contracts, the billions of dollars that went into building that equipment for that time period, then just leaving all that equipment over there. People should be just literally protesting, calling their congressmen, out in the streets with their signs, get us some fair taxes, get us some fair representation. You can't abuse that stuff. Just think of the filth and the sin of that, the wickedness of that. I want that to sink in. That's just one example. That's why our military, huge spending and all these ungodly things that we support, paying taxes, and think of, even the abortion issues and all that stuff, then meddling with the affairs of other nations, paying for other nations' defense, etc., which our founding fathers didn't want us to even get involved in. And just think of that. It's just wickedness beyond wickedness, sickness, of this taxation. The power to tax is the power to destroy. You can destroy humans' lives with it. You can destroy human livelihoods. You destroy businesses because the elite at the top or the people that are under the elite that are their gophers and their go-to people just abuse their power. They don't care because they're sociopaths, they're psychopaths. And if you don't believe me, just go through the Bible, read the 1st and 2nd Kings. Read 1st and 2nd Kings. All those leaders, with exceptions of a few in the Judah line, Israel, Jerusalem line, were wicked. Those kings that ruled in Samaria, Israel, when the kingdom was divided into Judah and Israel, though they were all wicked in Israel, all of them. And they all abused their powers. They abused taxation. And a lot of the kings in the area of Judah, they abused their taxation, their power, with the exception of a few handful, Jehoshaphat's and Hezekiah's and Josiah types. But it was terrible back there. The wickedness and the control of those people wielded over the people. They had to pay tribute to Necho, king of Egypt, to keep him from invading. For a while, they tried to stave off the Assyrian Babylonian captivity with money that they drew from the people. It didn't do anything for them because of the disobedience to God at that time. But yeah, this is so ingrained. You know, it says in 1 Timothy chapter 6, the love of money is the root of all evil. And I totally agree with that. The love of money is the root of all. Not money is not the root of all, but love of money. And boy, these politicians these days, I don't care what Western European country, and I know it's in other African nations, but they are wicked in their abuse of finances and the rule over people and the terrible things they do with it and the medical tyranny they support, the big pharma they support in all this. So just know that this is filth, this is stench, this is going to the throne room of heaven. And the masses are just taking it because they're so busy trying to make a living right now, they don't know what to do other than just put their head down and work because they're getting taxed so much they got to go work 2 or 3 jobs right now. It's sick, it's filthy, and it's abomination to God. Mike Show. Thank you for joining us. If you like this teaching, please consider donating by clicking on the PayPal link in the description area of this video. If you would like to contact me directly, you may email me at thecaptainmikeshow@yahoo.com.
Be seeing you.